Alien Earth is an 8-part TV show set 2 years before the events of the first Alien film, Alien 1. It features some stellar performances, captivating characters, and it expands on the Alien universe in a mostly compelling way. It also somewhat sidelines Giger's Alien, and its ending feels rushed, even unfinished. For me, one of the most important elements of the Alien franchise is its tone. Morbid, grounded, dystopian, and Alien Earth successfully continues that tone, mostly. Mostly? So although Alien Earth starts as if it's going to be a retread, it's probably the freshest entry into the TV movie franchise since, Prometheus, Alien Resurrection, if you count that, Alien 1 even. That's its official name now, by the way. Yes, there are graphic novels expanding the lore, but
I don't care about that.
Just as I'm not talking here about the Alien spoken word album. Alien Earth follows the leaders, henchmen, and hapless denizens of 2 nation-state corporations battling for control of Giger's alien and a cadre of other dangerous creatures after a science ship carrying these terrible things crashes on Earth. On one side we have the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, led by Yutani, and employing stone-cold cyborg but still a bit human Kumi Morrow, the original captors of Alien and friends who were interested in them for totally benevolent reasons. On the other side, we have Prodigy Corporation, led by Boy Cavalier, that's really his name, a cross between Mark Zuckerberg and the guy at my college who got busted trying to sell roofies to an undercover cop. With Yutani's ship crash landing into Boy Cavalier's territory, he takes the opportunity to steal Yutani's specimens, despite being mere weeks away from a revolutionary product launch. Having already invented synths, Prodigy are ready-ish to market human brain-to-robo-body transfers, and have already succeeded in doing this with a bunch of terminally ill children.
You're very, very special. Do you want to see a magic trick?
With Boy Cavalier are a bunch of actually smart people, including the doctors doing the work, Boy K's right-hand man played by Aid Edmondson, as Atom Ines, I guess Nukenheimer was too obvious, and Roy Batty-type synthetic Kirsch, played excellently by everyone's favourite Vanderbilt, Timothy Oliphant.
Ow, hey.
Under Kirsch's watchful, somewhat contemptuous gaze that will probably resonate with anyone who's worked in the corporate world, surely anyone who's worked for someone who thinks they're a genius, Marcy, aka Wendy, a 12-year-old in an adult synth body with the other children, fart around waiting to smile and wave at the product launch. In the meantime, what with the arrival of the aliens, Boy Genius decides to deploy the children in a series of important and dangerous tasks for which they are not trained, ill-equipped, and it's a bad idea to use them. What could possibly go wrong? I think Alien Earth does well in forging its own story in the Alien universe without doing what so many other offerings do. The same thing, with different environments, but really the same old suckers. There's a bit of that, but it very much does its own thing. Its introduction of other alien beings feels like it fits into this world, and Marcy's realization that she can speak to the xenomorphs adds an interesting facet that doesn't retcon or undermine previous outings. Expanding on the idea of synths and cyborgs, their humanity and lack of, is one of the most interesting avenues that Alien Earth takes. Saying that, I think that the way it concentrates on sociopathic corporate affairs and the robo-children somewhat undermines the threat from the inevitably loose aliens. With more than half the cast being robots or cyborgs, and with its reluctance to dispense with most of them, it sort of feels like everyone's wearing a hefty wadding of plot armour. On the other hand, while none of them are particularly deep, I think the characters and their portrayals are very well done. The character of Boy Cavalier, clearly referencing the tech barons of today, move fast and make $1 trillion, may be a bit cliched. Certainly it and the anti-corporate message that it goes hand in hand with aren't exactly subtle. But Samuel Blenkin renders him as believably creepy in a self-aware sort of way, and not simply as a singularly arrogant shithead. His defining trait is arrogance, but to paraphrase Malcolm Tucker, he's so much worse than that. He's an arrogant shithead on several levels. The adults acting as if they were kids in the adult synth bodies are very convincing, often funny, but the show is really stolen by every scene featuring Oliphant or Babu Sise. When they're on screen together, the tension sizzles, almost like they might start stabbing or necking at any moment.
I'll see you soon, old toy.
I think these two characters are really stand out, and it's a shame that their deeper motivations were never really explored. The tone and atmosphere, the CRT cassette noir of Alien and Aliens, is totally successful when replicated here, especially in the show's 5th episode, where the action takes place on a ship that might as well be the Nostromo. On Earth, that tone doesn't always carry through. The environments are inevitably different, the Prodigy research facilities often feel positively pleasant, and the cities feel sort of like everything's just dandy. In this respect, I think Romulus did the tone of dystopian drudgery better. In Alien Earth, when they adhere to the tone established in the first film, which I argue was core to its personality, they do it well. But I think they'd have done much better to have the cities on Earth quite a bit nastier, and to make that mournful, doomed atmosphere of the films really permeate every scene. So I think its tone, when it gets it right, is Alien Earth's greatest strength. But when it diverts away from this, it's probably its greatest weakness. Yes, some of the effects are a bit crap, like Wendy jumps from a cliff to pop music and barely bends her legs when she lands, like I'm suddenly watching Spy Kids all grown up, Reverence. Or the rendering of my third favourite character after Kirsch and Morrow, Eyeball Octopus. What a guy, or gal. What a thing. Do a spin-off of just Eyeball Octopus escaping into the human population, trying to manage a job and a social life at the same time, raising a family. Nobody suspects a thing. There are a number of what I would call not super important, but suspension of disbelief breaking problems with logic. You know, if I stole a boatload of hyper-dangerous aliens that we don't know much about, and had them housed in the same facility where I live, I'd have guards posted around the lab at all times, looking in. If something happened there, I wouldn't send in 3 dudes to deal with it. How about a platoon or 4? In episode 2, there's a dinner party in the big building that the alien-containing ship has crashed into at night, but we saw the ship crash in the daytime. So did the dinner party start in the middle of the day, and they just didn't notice the ship crashing? Or did the people at the dinner party walk past the burning wreckage? By the time we meet the dinner party, it's been quite some time since the ship crashed. I think the building would be crawling with cops and emergency service workers by then, not just a handful of guys. Joe Hermit sees the alien kill a load of people, gets knocked unconscious briefly, wakes up, and just farts around looking at baseballs in a building that's about to collapse. Why are the kids, the billion-dollar prototypes, working in the lab? Why is everyone on the Maginot Not Nostromo so careless and or stupid? These problems could have been ironed out, but they are minor. They never get my eyes rolling like the breaks in tone. For example, at the end of each episode, pop rock comes in and takes away the melancholic tone and the feeling of distance that I think the first Alien film does so well, and that this show is often going for. I think the very end of the episodes would have been much better with the original score, or even with nothing, than this. Here it is with the original score. Here it is with the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie music. The show overuses music as it is, and it feels lacking in confidence because of this. Sort of like the Committee of Audience Relations worried they weren't checking enough boxes. It's immature, even. I think generally the atmosphere is more successful than not, but like I've said, I think the atmosphere is key. I would still like Alien if Ripley's duel in the corridors of Nostromo was set to Metallica, but I don't think it would have had quite the same impact. The use of the music sometimes makes it feel like I'm watching Alien's babies, and I think this was the show's biggest problem, as well as the conclusion of this as of yet unrenewed show being, well, gutless. All that said, I quite liked Alien Earth. I really like the original Alien, I like the idea of Alien, but thinking about it, I'm not sure I really like the other films in the Alien franchise. I don't dislike them, maybe Resurrection, but that is entertaining. They're alright. And this too is alright. So a ringing endorsement there. Thanks very much for watching. You can help keep me in such comfortable surroundings by supporting me on Patreon or sending me positive thoughts through the Shadow Realm. Cheers. See you next time. Ooh, mostly.